Hello everyone, welcome to Spoken Word Sunday with Granddaddy G. I'm Glenn Granddaddy G. Bruno, and this is episode 36. As you can see, I have a new poet shirt from my friends at getlit.org. Take the hashtag literary riot at getlit.org. Friday, April 12th, happened to be my 65th birthday. Thank you. And one of the things I did was go to the USC LA Times Festival of Books. And that's where I saw my friends here at Get Lit. They gave me a book called Get Lit Rising, which is very interesting. I'll read a poem from it. And I did a video of some of the young poets there that I'm going to edit and put together for next week's episode. Or maybe I'll even do a special video through the week of it. This is still National Poetry Month, so I want to pay tribute to one of our great classic poets, Robert Frost. Robert Frost was an American poet initially published in England. He was born March 16, 1874, and died January 29, 1963. Some of the quotes attributed to him are, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." I'm going to read that poem in a moment. Another quote is, "These woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." And the third quote, and this is very appropriate for me to read on my birthday. It's my birthday weekend. "In 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on." So I'm so thankful to have made it these 65 years. And this poem, "The Road Not Taken" by Robert Frost, was written in 1915. And it's also very appropriate for me to read at this point in my life when I'm looking back at my past and wondering if things might have turned out differently if I had taken a different road. So let's listen to the poem. "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Yes, it has. I don't think I would actually change a thing. So let me tell you about this book, Get Lit. It's really very interesting. The way the book works is that there is a classic poem, like say the one I just read, for example. Maybe I'll do this exercise myself for these poems. And then the student gives a response poem to kind of give their idea of how that poem relates to their life. So the one I'm going to read is by a young lady by the name of Emily James. Wrote this when she was 17 years old. Signed it for me. How so? Several of the poets whose poems are here signed this for me, and they gave this to me as a gift, so I really appreciate it. I want to give them a shout out. They're having a slam, a classic slam. It's going to be great. It's going to be at the, the Grand Slam finals are April 27th, 7 to 10 p.m., theater at the Ace Hotel, 929 South Broadway in LA, hosted by George Watsky. Watsky is very good. I did a video with Watsky and Monique Mitchell. Judges are Rudy Francisco, who's a great YouTube poet, Olivia Gatwood, Sam Sachs, Carlos Lopez Estrada, Pamela Adyan. There's a live DJ, Joshua Silverstein. And the quarter and semifinals leading up to that are April 25th and 26th at the Los Angeles Theater Center, 614 South Spring Street, LA. So it's going to be great. Get out there and support young local poets. Now, Emily James had a classic poem assigned to her by Francisco X. Alarcon called Memorial. The Pacific Garden Mall as we know it ceased to exist at 5:04 today. Marty Wormhout, Mayor of Santa Cruz, October 17th, 1989. Do towns suffer like people heart attacks? Do buildings get scared too and try to run? Do steel frames get twisted out of pain? Do windows break because they can't cry? Do walls let themselves go just like that and lie on sidewalks waiting to be revived? Is this how old places give birth to new places? That's a poem by Francisco X. Alarcon, Memorial. And this is the response poem by Emily James called Momma. My town was my mama, always good to me, but suddenly the simple me grew up and found out my street and a couple blocks down didn't count as the whole town. You could smell the sickness from miles around. My friends making new decisions about whether the disease of drive-bys, dropouts, or drug busts would take them out. This town had been suffering years of strife. Mama crouched over and clutched her heart for dear life because my friends were out of their minds, doping up and getting high, becoming fiends and watching their lives float by. With every new breath of that Buddha or hit of that stepping stone hookah, Mama wept in pain, knowing this neighborhood might die in vain as the streets carried on. Her alleyways feared their fight wouldn't be won, feared for the people who wouldn't live to see dawn. These people, these kids, my friends, Sean. My mama feared for Sean. He sat, watching her walls crack in his mind, hoping he could find beauty intertwined within the tainted pieces, knowing if he could hold beauty, he could hold sanity. If her buildings could leave, they would. Instead, they found Sean's body inside, with no passion, no fire in his eyes. The boy who wished to go gently into that good night found his father's gun, decided he was done, clutched it even though he was too young, and screamed goodbye. One hand held a gun. The other was bloodied from picking too hard at the plaster. His life hadn't even begun. But the buildings weren't the only ones who felt insane. No. Her windows also felt a presence of pain. They witnessed me, the silent arguments in my head of how to leave this town before I'm dead. Pacing the room until the floor became thin and the holes in my shoes became another way to show my heart's wounds from years of anger toward my friends because they betrayed my town, my mama. They witnessed the daydreaming kids who knew there was a slim chance of not having to dance with death before they were 18. When her window shattered, Mama knew the next scene. Some kid so angry that crying wasn't the only thing he could do. He had to see something smash apart to feel something close to true. In my town, my mama saw her children breaking. Each child, each friend taken by a disease of his choice. Drive-bys, dropouts, or drug busts, until he could only be kept together by a chain and 2 cuffs. As silver as the steel cage where he'd wind up. All this pain began chipping away at my mama. Her stucco laced with stress-filled days and trauma. Her street quarters full of these kids, my friends, and their tragic signs, who thought the only way to be alive was to be free from their minds. So they sat there, doping up and getting high. But my mama always paid attention, though, and through, she knew there were a few who wanted so desperately to take in lives with a better view, who waited for the day when their stories didn't make her buildings shake or her windows break. She wanted us to feel new and didn't want us to live just to survive. She showed us places beyond poverty-stricken lives. These people, these kids, my friends who encountered a daily fight of nowhere to be, nowhere to go, nothing to eat, and all along the future we craved was beneath our own feet. Mama showed us each crack on the sidewalk and told us, pay attention to these streets. Life ain't no crystal stair, so appreciate each broken piece, because the moment you see how each crack on the sidewalk came to be, you'll realize every crack began as something bigger than you and me. So we walked carefully and kept eyes beneath our feet, people believing we had something to hide. But really, we looked at each simple crack with beauty on our minds. And through all those bad blocks, bad days, and mass graves, beauty was a color we'd never seen before. It became our own hue. My town, my mama. She wanted us to feel new. And some of us, we pulled through. That is amazing for 17-year-olds to write that. That is amazing. And of course, my experience with my daughter Jasmine, I could relate to many of the things in that poem. And of course, me personally, myself growing up in South LA and seeing so many homeless kids, the streets of Hollywood. It's just a shame that our society allows that to continue. We need to pull together and do something about it. Wow, I'm not sure if I can follow that. That was amazing. If you get this book, Get Lit Rising, getlit.org, in there you can find her story of her life and why she wrote the poem and so forth. I think it would be important to know that information. Maybe she'll be at the Slam. Check her out live. This poem I wrote April 14th, 2014, so it came up in my Facebook memories. Again, another poem I forgot all about. I'm not sure. It's called Blood Moon. I'm not sure if there was the blood moon where the moon's red, full moon, on April 14th, 2014. But since that poem was called Momma, this poem, I think, is also appropriate and kind of ties in. Dedicate this to all the women out there, especially the mother of dragons. All the mothers. Little Game of Thrones reference there for tonight, huh? Blood Moon. I gave blood on this blood moon day, my gift to the moon mother. All mothers sacrifice. Mary gave her son. My mother gave me life. All females renew the world. Women give birth, some to people. All women give birth to beauty, to peace, to fearless protection of children, such as I. Children such as I. Female energy brings blessings, peace and comfort from the earth to the moon. Bless you all. Have a great week. See you next time on Spoken Word Sunday with Granddaddy G. Don't forget, getlit.org.